What do I love about each of the 16 personalities? Will you be flattered or slightly offended? This is subjectively what I, Frank James, love about the 16 personalities. As a guy who has portrayed all 16 personalities every Friday for the last almost 2 years now. And you find things that you like, that you maybe even love and admire about each of those types, and things that you want to emulate in your own life. And I think it's important to talk about what do I love about every type, because sometimes I see people in the comments section who are like, I hate this type. I don't know if they're joking or what, but you know, there's no reason to hate a whole type. Every type has things that are positive and things that will irritate you and be negative. And it's different from person to person, which is why this video entirely subjective. That's why I'm here in my easy chair, because we're taking it easy today. But before we get into that, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, HelloFresh. Now, you do not need a chef's jacket like this in order to make a stunning dish using HelloFresh. Please ignore my weird hair in this video. HelloFresh is an awesome service that delivers fresh and pre-measured ingredients right to your doorstep so you can make awesome recipes. HelloFresh has a ton of stunning recipes to choose from every week, so you'll never be in a rut. Do you want a low calorie? Do you want low carb? Do you want vegetarian? They got it all. It saves you time. It reduces your stress. You don't have to go to the grocery store and get stuff and you get a bunch of extra, you know, carrots or whatever and more than you needed. They give you just what you need. And the recipes are fun and easy to follow. You don't need to be a great, amazing chef like I am. HelloFresh is very flexible. You can add like extra dinners or lunches, or if you want some like garlic bread on the side, you can get that. You can change your delivery days or what food you prefer. You can even skip a week. It's all whatever you want. I'm about to eat this food. Stunning. Now it's time for the taste test. Wow. I made that. Wow, that is really good. All right, so go to HelloFresh.com. Use code FrankJames10 to get 10 free meals plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com. Code FrankJames10. I love HelloFresh. Highly recommend it, especially when you can get some free meals. Okay, let's go back to the video. All right, so let's start with the extroverted thinkers, the TE types, ESTJ, ENTJ. Both types, what I like about them, they're very intense. It's because they're, you know, cutting through the BS to get to like what is gonna work, what is the truth. Nothing stands in their way when they're going after that. ESTJs are perhaps the most no-nonsense type, which, being a very high-nonsense kind of person, I respect that about them. And the ENTJs are all about efficiency and finding not just the best way for something to work, but like the quickest way. They like to cut some corners. Of course, when I say cut corners, I don't mean do a shoddy job. I mean, intuitives in general like to cut corners. So the ENTJ, they're driving towards how can I get this thing to work, and the intuition is making them skip over stuff. That's why the ESTJ can be more intense, because they're like, no, that's not right, this is right. This is the correct procedure, let's do the correct procedure. I really just admire and respect and, you might say, love those types and their determination to get to the bottom of the answer. What's gonna get us where we want to go. All right, we move on to the FE types, the ENFJ, ESFJ. Both of these types are very engaging. It just feels like almost instant friends, like they want to create a rapport. And like the TE types we just talked about, who are focused on what's gonna work, what's the solution, what's gonna get us where we wanna go, the FE types are really focused on what is most important here? Let's get to the bottom of that. Because feeling is about not just emotion, but how we value things. So an ENFJ and ESFJ are gonna be very aware of like, what matters most here? What's important here? The ESFJs are very attuned to what are practical things that are going to make people feel good. Like, hey guys, let's all have a big meal together. That'll make everyone happy. That'll bring group harmony here. I like the practicality of the ESFJ, where it's just like, we don't need to think about this. We just do this thing, everyone will feel better. The ENFJs, you know, are also looking for how can we find group harmony, of course, but they go about it maybe a bit more of a philosophical, abstract way. And an ENFJ is like an INFJ that if an INFJ was punchier, And I respect that. I like that a lot. Let's stop momentarily and support this channel and see if YouTube would like to show a commercial. Thanks for sitting through that. And if you're enjoying this video, let's move on to the EP types, starting with extroverted sensors, ESTP, ESFP. These are, like, I'm just gonna say it, the coolest two types. They're easygoing, they're able to, roll with changing situations. They can be impulsive, but that can also make them exciting. The ESFPs they're just very fun to be around because they're always looking for a good time. They're looking to enjoy life right now. And when you're around them, that can be infectious. Like, they often have a lot of energy. I love that about them. It's always great to have an ESFP in your friend group. They're the friend where you call them up and you're like, hey, you want to do this thing? And they're like, I'm there. I love ESFPs for that reason. ESTPs, what I think I like the most about them is that they will say what's on their mind. They'll just say what they think. And it can be stuff that maybe I would think, but I wouldn't say, but they just say it and it's like, oh man. And they can get away with it because they're cool, That's what I love about ESTPs, man. Let's move on to the extroverted intuitives, ENTP, ENFP. These types are also fun. They're hilarious. Extroverted intuition can be really random, like it just finds random things to put together, which can be funny, especially the ENFPs. The ENFPs tend to be probably the funniest type because it's just like, here's a funny connection I see, here's a funny intuitive connection, here's another funny intuitive connection, ha 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 ha. ENTPs are also funny, but in a way where it's like finding things that are like illogical and absurd, and maybe their sense of humor can be a bit drier, but it's still got that fast-paced nature of here's two random things, here's how they're connected, here's how it's absurd. Both of these types are also really good at coming up with like wild new ideas. They're very creative. They're just really good at thinking outside of the box. Of course, the ENFPs, when they're thinking outside of the box, it's going to be a little bit more influenced by their feelings, so it's going to be, here's cool stuff that I thought of. ENTPs will be like, here's some logical abstractions or whatever. Here's some theoretical things I was thinking about. Both of them I really admire. I love it about them because it's a little bit hard for me to think at the pace that they often do, the connections that they could make. All right, now we move on to the IJs. Oh boy, introverted sensors, ISTJ, ISFJ. These two types, they are steady, unshakable. ISFJs make like great, loyal, steadfast friends, and I really admire that about them because I am not always the greatest friend, and I wonder if it has to do with like the introverted sensing. Maybe it's like keeping people organized, keeping the people in your life organized, and then always kind of knowing what to do from a feeling sense. I'm not sure there, but the ISFJs tend to be like easy to get along with, affable, and like genuinely loyal friends once you've got them in your circle. That's not to say that ISTJs are not loyal. Of course they are, but because they have that thinking there, it's a little bit of a different flavor. And the thing about ISTJs is that sensing and thinking going together a lot of times can present itself in something I really like, in that they are always prepared to handle something. They don't want to deal with the randomness of life. So they're like, I'm prepared for everything. So if you have that, weirdo uncle who has like, first aid kit and an emergency blanket and all the stuff in the back seat of the car so that if you flew off a cliff, you could live for the next 3 weeks at the bottom of a gorge, they're probably an ISTJ. All right, now the introverted intuitives, oh crap. The INTJ and INFJ. Both of these types are very insightful and, they are quite perceptive. That's a synonym of insightful. They're good at just like taking in the world and sitting back and making sense of it. And that it can give them the air of being like the smartest person in the room. So I talked before about how ENTJs were efficient. INTJs take that and put it on steroids. And I love that about the INTJs, is that they just want to figure out how to make a system to get where we want to go. They're all about the system. How can I systematize everything? How can I skip over the sensory world and just do stuff intuitively? I also find INTJs really interesting to talk to as an INFJ because they don't have the FE, so they don't engage in this kind of extroverted feeling BS of, you know, kind of like talking about our feelings and stuff. They're just like, okay, whatever. Here's here's what we're talking about. It's fun to talk to them. INFJs, man, what do I love about INFJs? This is, I don't know if I love this about INFJs or if I'm disturbed by it, but INFJs always seem like they're hiding something, and it's almost like I'm going to play a trick on you. I don't know. There's something about it where they have that element of they're clearly very perceptive, but they're also very friendly, and it's like, what is going on behind the scenes here? I don't know. It amuses me. And that's what I love about them. Even though it's like kind of a weird thing I've noticed about INFJs, I think I would say that I love it. Now we talk about IPs. Let's go introverted thinkers, ISTP, INTP. These types are smart, man. These are like the smartest types. They're brainiacs. I love that. And you know, I mentioned before how like the ESTP will just kind of say whatever. These types will do that too, and they'll kind of do it in a way where it's not as cool as the way the ESTP can do it, or even the ENTP. These two types, ISTP and INTP, when they say their stuff, they just say it because, well, this is true. Like, I know this is true, I'm saying it, I don't care what people feel. This is an example of something that I love that's not necessarily a positive thing. I just think it's funny. I like it. ISTPs, I would say, are down to earth. I like that about them. Very driven to get stuff done. They don't mind just going off and doing their own thing, which I really admire about them. They'll just be like, yeah, this is the way, this is what I want to do. F the rest of you, I'm doing this. INTPs can also do that to a degree, except I think the intuition makes them a little bit more eccentric, which I really like. I like eccentric people. One thing I love about INTPs is how they can go into sort of a new situation, something they don't even really know much about, some new area of study or whatever, and then kind of quickly gather in some info and then be like, okay, I get this now. Like, they will have some level of understanding much quicker than I think a lot of other types will. And I think it's because the intuition allows them to kind of skip past a lot of the sensory and just be like, okay, I got the gist of it. Is it wrong of me to say ISTPs and INTPs might be my two favorite types? I don't know. Did I say another type was my favorite type? I don't know. Now we come to the introverted feelers, ISFP, INFP. I love these types because they're kind of like visionaries. They, like the INTP, ISTP, they are independent in their own way. They follow their heart. Like, that's what they really lead with. INFPs and ISFPs are all heart, man. Maybe I'm going out on a limb with this, but there's a certain naivete to ISFPs and INFPs. Is it even that? Or is it just like they're so focused on the direction they want to go that they will just follow something even if it seems kind of dumb to everyone else? They're just like, whatever, this is where my heart is leading me. Both of those types can be like very unique, creative, visionary people. And ISFPs, to me, it seems like they're also tend to be very productive as well when they are creating things, whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be art. I just find that ISFPs are productive, prolific, which I really admire. I love about them. Something I love about INFPs is how they'll go so far into their feelings and explore it in this intuitive way, and then be able to express themselves with, you know, metaphors and analogies, etc. This kind of intuitive language, so this NF language that is just like so beautiful and rich, because they are able to go just so deep into their feelings and then see how their feelings reflect these other things, how it's all connected. Thanks for watching. Watch another video right here, or watch the whole darn playlist right here. Don't forget HelloFresh.com, code FrankJames10 for 10 free meals and free shipping. Until next time, stay cool and attractive.